Okay. Welcome. Welcome. Today we are talking about creating boundaries. And I like to say sacred boundaries. And so today, what we're going to be looking at is, of course, boundaries. What are boundaries? My take on it, which I know is going to help you to shift, especially if you're someone that feels like you need more boundaries or the whole thing feels a little bit overwhelming. I'm also going to touch on boundaries and manifestation. And then, of course, how we can set boundaries, keeping them strong, because that's something that I see in empaths and intuitive seekers is like we have these boundaries, but then when we have to stick to them, it can get really hard because we feel into what other people need from us or what we should be doing. And it's very easy to be like, oh, whatever, to our own boundaries, right? So just talking about how to keep your boundaries strong, as well as I'm going to talk about releasing negative energy because that also helps to maintain our boundaries. And then just some boundary affirmations as well that you can bring into your life. So let's start with what are boundaries? And feel free, you guys that are live, if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat. And then at the end, I'll also open it up if you want to ask or share. So what are boundaries? The way that I like to think about boundaries, and this shifted everything for me, is that boundaries are the way that we identify what we will and will not allow into our energetic space. So boundaries are really about us saying what we will and will not allow in our energetic sphere to come into our mind, to come into our energy. It's deciding what you're available for in your life, what you will put up with, what you will tolerate. And the intentions of having boundaries, the way that I like to think of it, is it's about protecting your energy and preserving your life force. That's why we have boundaries, not because we should, or that's what makes a strong woman or a strong man, or that's what it's more spiritual or it's more self-development-y to have strong boundaries, like it's a badge of honor. It's just about preserving your life force, not having you drained, protecting your mind, protecting your precious energy. So I see people more often than not be motivated to set boundaries from the understanding that other people are responsible for our happiness. So this is where we say, for example, I'm not going to be seeing Sandra anymore because Sandra makes me feel horrible about herself. So my boundary is no more Sandra. Sorry to anyone watching this in the future named Sandra. But we set boundaries from this. Fuck that. She's been treating me like this for too long. This is a boundary, right? I'm no longer going to be around this person. No way. But that's based on the understanding that someone else is responsible for your happiness. So this is not exactly the way that I like to teach boundaries. These boundaries are more set, and I'm just going to be straight up and honest because I want the best for you. These boundaries are set from the fact that you're a victim, and they're from a blame mentality. This person makes me feel bad, so I'm not going to be around them, right? And so you don't need to hang around with Sandra. I'm not saying that you need to be around negative people. I'm going to show you today how I like to set boundaries around this type of situation. So you don't need to be hanging out with this person. And maybe with your new boundaries, there won't be room for these people, or they will naturally fade out of your life. But the motivation for having the boundary isn't because Sandra's an awful person and you're better and you can kind of just cut them out. It's because you know yourself well and you've set these boundaries from a place of how I will allow myself to feel. So Sandra or whoever else is not a bad person. Everyone's on their path doing their thing. If somebody is gossipy or negative, it's their own trauma or their own life, or that's just where they're at in the path. We don't need to be mad at people and character assassin and pretend we're better or more spiritual or more high vibe. It really just comes, I care about how I feel. And I notice that when I'm around Sandra, I tend to start matching her negativity. I tend to leave feeling drained. I can't really offer her what she needs. I don't want to sit around and gossip or whatever else. So a boundary for me is to protect my energetic space. And this is a really big one, like, say, with my mom that I obviously share, that's been like a thing in my life. So I used to be like, I'm not going to allow her into my, like, F you. You do this to me. I'm like, you don't get me. You don't get my kids. You don't, no. But now I've realized I personally, taking responsibility, have a hard time maintaining my highest self when I'm around her. The passive aggressive comments or the things she says get into me like this. Out of anyone in the world, she can like rip me down with an innocent comment. I am not emotionally resilient enough to stay up here when I'm around her. So my boundary now becomes about me protecting my space. Maybe one day I will be. Maybe one day it'll just bounce off me because enough things have sunk in and I've transformed enough and blah, blah, blah. For now, I care about how I feel. Therefore, I don't want to put myself in that situation because I can't maintain my energetic sobriety. I can't stay on the high path when I'm around this person with where I am right now. So there's a really simple way to kind of tell if you're in your boundaries or not, or if you've been around someone or something, and to tell if you need boundaries or to tell if you're like protecting your own energy. And it's asking yourself, like, how do I feel? And do I feel drained? So drained is a word that I really feel like it's a specific thing. It's not just tired. It's drained. It's like drained of life force. And when we feel drained of life force, we're giving away, our power is leaking, we are being thrown around. This could be from a job that just drains us, or people that drain us, or conversations, gatherings, like they just drain me. That's a really good place to look and go, I need boundaries there because I'm being drained of my life force. So drained and tired are different to me. If you're drained, you've allowed yourself to get into a place where you've given and given and given your energy, physically, words, whatever it is, and then you're fatigued afterwards. So it's not about blaming yourself. It's about being aware. When I'm around this person, am I energized after, or am I drained? When I go to work, when I interact, like, am I drained or am I energized? And so saying how I said drained and tired are different. At the end of a work day, you could be tired from a full day of work, or you run a marathon. You're tired. Your body might be tired, but it's different than like, I'm drained. Like, I don't even know who I am. I have nothing left to give. That's when we tend to drink or eat or whatever, because we're drained and we're tired and our cup is empty. So from a full day of work, or adulting, or momming, as we were talking about before we hit record, that can be tiring. But draining is when you have allowed your life force to go. So there's days at the end of my day with my kids, I'm drained as well, because I've kind of let them walk all over me. I've been like, no, I'm not going to let you leave the house messy behind you. And then I just do, because I'm like, I just don't want to put up with the eye rolls. Like, fine, I'll just clean up this stuff. And I'll turn into almost like the martyr. And I'm drained at the end of a day of martyring, of being like, fine, I'll just do it. No, you guys can have all the strawberries. I don't need any. Like, give myself up. And I fall into this. I'll be drained. It's because I don't have boundaries. That's much different than being tired at the end of a big workout, or moving or traveling, and you're just tired, right? So those are two different ways or two different things. And recognizing where you're drained in life is a really good place to start for where there's boundaries that can come in. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about boundaries and manifestation. So this is where I talk about power leaks and share about power leaks. And some of you have heard me talk about this before. And this is where there are things that leak our power. They drain our energy. And these are, there's so many things that are power leaks, but unresolved things with people, like tension under the surface, maybe with your partner or friends, when there's like unsaid things. Those things can be really leaking our power. Or if we carry around with us, like when I was bullied, before I decided to kind of close that, extract the good and move on in some ways, it was leaking my power, because way back in my mind, I still felt like I was fat and unworthy and uncool and this and this. So everything I was doing was leaking my power. So we all have lots of things that leak our power, whether they're from way back when, or just in a day, we're saying yes when we should be saying no because we want to just take a rest day, but instead we're serving all these people and doing all this stuff. We have power leaks. So identifying and healing or correcting or whatever you want to say, power leaks. This is what has you manifest so much quicker because all of your beautiful magnetic life force that is the cause of manifestation, it is the thing that draws it in. It's not being leaked everywhere all the time. So boundaries are a huge part of manifestation because if I'm like I'm going to manifest this and I'm doing that, and then I leave and then the rest of the day I'm just drained, it's like, it's hard to get on top. It's hard to get into the flow of like, things feel so good, and overflow, which is just continuously changing my life. I can't get there when I'm drained in that day, when I'm giving away my power all day. So boundaries are a huge power leak, or lack of boundaries are a huge power leak because they suck our energy all day. So whether we're stressed about having to have boundaries, trying to create boundaries, trying to enforce boundaries, feeling guilty we don't have boundaries, it consumes a lot of our energy. So by doing this boundary work that we're talking about today, it'll free up a lot of the negative energy that's kind of floating around. And especially for people that are highly sensitive, I'm actually going to record a podcast episode soon about being a martyr, because it's something that I rejected because I was like, my mom's a martyr. I'm not a martyr, but I recognize it in my life and I'm starting to own it. So a martyr is when we give and give and give, but we're also a little bit resentful and we're a little bit mad about it because we have to do all the shit for everyone, yet we're doing it over and over. Or we give and give and give, and then we go like, where is there anyone for me? Like, why does no one have my back? Like, what about me? You're not just giving to give. You're giving a lasagna with the expectation that you're going to get back a lasagna, or that they're going to have my back later. And there's lots of different ways martyr shows up. But the biggest thing is like, we give and give and give, and then it becomes draining. We're resentful. We're actually carrying excess energy about it. It didn't come from just purely loving. It came because I don't have boundaries. So I'm just going to like keep on cleaning up all of your shit and be mad about it over and over and over. And that is a beautiful place where boundaries can come in. So if I can own it, try to look within yourself, see if there's a little bit of that in you. If not, that, it maybe isn't, but for a lot of us, there are shreds of that, especially moms and givers and empaths and all that. So by doing this work, we tend to, and by having boundaries in this loving way, we tend to it's almost like we tighten everything up and there's not as much leaking. So when you honor your boundaries, you actually create space for desire because you're not leaking all of your energy all the time. So you tighten it up and you actually find that you're more free inside to create, to have faith, to trust, for self-care, self-love. This stuff ends up at the end of the pile when we're constantly drained and we're constantly overgiving and we're constantly, neglecting ourselves. So boundaries actually have a huge part of manifestation because it allows us to intend what I'm going to allow into my space, what I'm going to allow into my mind, into my brain, into my energetic sphere. And when we do that, especially for anyone who's going to be watching this and all of you beautiful souls live, you want a better life. You want to feel more energetic. You want to be more powerful. So these boundaries, it's like where the power can come from is from owning what is okay and what is not okay, what you will allow into your space. One really simple thing that was a boundary for me, and some of you can relate to this is nothing to do with a person, but I used to really watch violent TV stuff. I used to be all about serial killers and CSI and all this unsolved mysteries and murders and all the things. And then one day I realized, actually it was over time, that it didn't feel good. The more energetically aware I got, I started being like, why am I putting murder into my brain? And I also like true stuff. So it was true crime and true murders. And I'm going wow. And I just kind of realized one day, I'm highly sensitive. I take this all on. It stays in my cells. I feel like it does. It stays in my mind. I don't want that anymore. So now I have a loving boundary. I'm not going to watch gory, weird, murdery movies. And if I'm watching something and it starts getting too violent in a way that starts making me feel icky, I'm totally cool to like walk away, walk out of the theater, say to my husband, like, I'm going to go upstairs and take a bath. You can continue watching. Totally fine. It's a boundary for me. When I'm picking up a book, I'm not reading Zodiac true crime killer books anymore because it just doesn't feel good. So that is a huge part of boundaries, right? What I'm going to allow into my energetic space. So it's important to recognize, and I've talked about this before, but what am I available for in my life? And what am I unavailable for? So if you feel like it right now, writing would be really helpful to write in a journal or in a notebook. I am available for blank. And just some examples, write what comes up for you. I'm available for healthy relationships. I'm available for my own elevated health, for spiritual development. I'm available for laughter, for miracles, for friendships, for body positivity, to love myself more. I'm open and available for source, for intuition, for inspiration, for joy, for creativity, for purpose, for authenticity, integrity, lots of things, right? What are you open and available for right now in your life? Is it expansive conversation? Is it relationships? I don't know how you'd say it in less words, but the reciprocal relationships where we're always giving and receiving. And it's that bond where we're not keeping score. We just love each other, right? Really deep, loving relationships. Maybe it's completing projects or elevating your home or whatever. So when we start to look at what we are available for, what we want in our life, basically, and for anyone who like doesn't quite get available for, what do you want in your life? Obviously, right? Like, what do you want? More healthy relationships, integrity, laughter, joy, abundance, all this stuff. What am I available for? What do I want to be open to receive? And then another list of what you're unavailable for. And this one sometimes is easier for people because we know what we don't want, and so unavailable for. Maybe it's like narcissism or narcissistic people to dominate my life. Anxiety, feeling depleted. Maybe you're unavailable for self-sabotage. And so again, this is about what do I not want anymore in my life? Maybe it's overworking, neglecting yourself. Maybe it's gossip or slander or racism or just cruelty, being mean to other people, judging other people. Maybe it's surface conversation. That is one thing. Every once in a while, I have to be available for it, but I just freaking hate those weird first conversations about weather and ugh. Although with a good friend, I'll be like, isn't the weather gorgeous? I'm fine. But those awkward surface conversations, I don't have any time for that. Maybe you're unavailable for feeling like a victim. I was just on a client call before this where that was a huge breakthrough in the call for her. She's like, I don't want to be a victim anymore. I default into these victim thoughts. I don't want to be that anymore, right? That's something I definitely had to heal and move through. Maybe it's overwhelm, chaos, drama, right? Unavailable for chaos anymore. So when we do this and we just start getting a feel, what do I want and what do I not want? The intention here is to get real and to get familiar with what you don't want to experience anymore, right? Like we say, I don't want this. I don't want to be around gossipy people. But then we continuously say yes to hanging out with someone who is exactly the thing we say we don't want. And often we say, I don't want gossipy people anymore in my life because of that person. And maybe another person that you've been hanging out with, you've recognized it drains you. And so you go, wait a minute, that doesn't feel good. I don't want that anymore. Sure, I'll hang out Thursday. Like we need to interrupt the cycle a little bit, right? So it's just you starting to get familiar with what you don't want anymore in your life and what you do want. And then you'll have a choice as it comes up to make a choice to either do something that will drain you further, or practice loving boundaries. So one great thing to do to set up the day, and I love doing this, today I'm available for. Starting my day with today, I'm available for. And I did this morning. I had a live event and I had a client call and then I had this beautiful training. And when I started the day, I was like, I am available to move people, to shift their mindset, to be a leader, to inspire people, to channel source. I'm available to help the beautiful soul one-on-one in my consult. And then I'm available to create an awesome group environment and to support and to blah, blah, blah. I'm available to have my message spoken clearly. I'm available to share what's on my heart and move people. I'm available to sometimes be a little direct because I know that's what they need. I'm available to also take care of myself, even though I'm busy. Right before this call, I had like 10 minutes. I went pee, I got water, I put on a song, I moved my body, and I'm back. I'm like, yes, it's because I set that intention to be available for these things, not to just be drained one thing to the next. I'm available to refill my cup. So maybe you might find in a day or before you do something, stating these things that you're saying you're available for, even just the one that sticks out the most. Today, I'm available for deeper levels of self-love, or I'm available for loving boundaries. That could be a good thing too. Just going to look at the comments here. Yes. Get triggered. No wonder I get triggered when they get disrespected. Disrespected. I know that was way at the beginning. You wrote that. Add to the morning pages. Yes, today I'm available for. So I'm going to take you through four steps in keeping boundaries strong and setting boundaries and starting to look. So anything that comes up during this, you have an intuition, you are being guided here for a reason. So the things you start sensing and picking up on, I'd write them down because these are going to be big parts of where you need boundaries going forward, and it's going to help you get clear on that. So the first step here is becoming aware of the situations that leak your power. When I first learned about power leaks, I was like, oh yeah, my mom totally does. When I look at myself in the mirror and hate on my body, that leaks my power. I started seeing new places. But then I also, as I was experiencing life, I'd be like, oh, what's happening? I'm told my power's being leaked right now. I'd start recognizing that's what's happening right now. So a lot of this work is awareness, right? We have a situation, a class like this, and what you do after the class, how you take this into your life determines if this stuff is going to make a difference in your life. So the first thing that I would really recommend is just really starting to become aware of where you're feeling drained. And sometimes I notice I used to be drained when I had a bunch of client calls in a day because the story was like, I'm sensitive, I give and give and give, and it's draining. And I even have people tell me that all the time. Oh, how do you give all day? It must be so draining. I'm like, yeah, it used to be when I wasn't in integrity with who the hell I am and wasn't filling up my own cup. Now there's days where I'm like, I have like 5 calls today. Like it's a lot in a day. And at the end of the day, I'm like ready to be done, like go have dinner, be with the fam. But I'm like, and I'm like, and this client, it was so exciting. And I just like, I'm making such a difference. And like, oh, on the podcast. And it's also, and my husband's like, whoa, you're a lot, because I'm like jazzed up at the end of a day because what I do no longer drains me. But sometimes I'll be in a call with someone and it's going on and it's going on. And all of a sudden, because you guys are aware, and this is the process, I recognize my energy went from being here to like, and sometimes it'll be because I haven't eaten in hours, or because we're just going around in circles and this call needs to kind of end because I'm no longer actually serving them, or I'm tired or whatever. But starting to just notice the moments in which your energy starts shifting and you move into leaking and move into draining territory, right? So first of all, being aware of that and the common situations in your life that your energy starts to be drained. And this is because there's a boundary inside that is starting to slip. So if I'm in a client call, it could be the coolest client ever. If it gets to like the 2-hour mark, which I don't let that happen anymore. And like Sarah sometimes, damn you. because I notice my energy starts to slip. They could be the coolest person in the world, but one of my boundaries is taking care of myself and making sure I have a full cup when I fucking show up for people, because I used to just run into it already tired and already thinking about this. And then my energy would be drained so fast. But I took it on to be like, I am showing up for people to help them. They're paying me, or I'm really inspired, the podcast or whatever. I want to deliver. So, what I need to do, a boundary I need to have, is I need to take care of myself while I serve others. This isn't about serving others to depletion. This is about actually taking care of myself so that I can show up. So I get in that call, it starts going long, and I start feeling all of a sudden like this energy is like draining. And I recognize it's a boundary. I'm now getting depleted. My cup is not full. I don't want to show up like this for people. I actually want to show up as the light so that they can change their life, not half light so that that's all they get. Right. So, witnessing as your power starts to leak, there's a boundary in there that you could either create or you've allowed to slip. So, another example is when I plan self-care and then someone else needs me and I say yes to hanging out with, let's just bring it back to Susan. I plan a self-care afternoon and then damn Susan calls me and she wants to, her life is in crisis and she needs someone and she wants to go for a walk. And I'm like, sure, I will. I already show up with a leaked cup. I already show up going like, I don't even want to be here. It's not because Susan sucks. It's because this situation leaks my energy and I'm saying no when I needed, or I'm saying yes when I needed to say no. You could very easily be like, Susan, I'm so sorry that you're going through that. I actually have plans right now. I can't hang out with you today, but maybe in a couple of days, I think on Tuesday, I have like about half an hour. We should have some coffee. And it's like a way to funnel in. They don't get all your energy, but maybe in a couple of days, I have like an hour, we could go for a walk, and then trying to stick to those boundaries of like, I have plans. Those plans could be with you and a bathtub. Those plans could be with you in a book. That no one needs to know your plans, right? Just if they ask you, just say taxes. No one will ever question you anymore. I got to do my taxes. They're like, it's November. Okay, well, whatever. I'm behind on my taxes. Don't ask me. So you don't have to say yes. And this is like that step of recognizing maybe where you need extra boundaries here. What about when you don't want to speed time with the one asking, when you don't want to spend time with the one asking? Yeah. So that is where, I mean, it depends. Law of attraction is such a beautiful like BFF/bouncer, because when you actually get aligned with who you are, as you guys are, and you're coming closer and closer to like that daily, like staying in it, when you do that, people will start to naturally fade out of your life, because this is a key. People that love drama or love to just like get hammered and you no longer want to drink, or they want to gossip and you no longer want to gossip, you become no fun to them. They will stop hanging around if you stop giving them everything or compromising your boundaries just to be around them. So this happened when I quit drinking, and I sometimes drink now, but I quit for a lot of years. And once people realized that, I would say like 75% of my friends dropped off, because I'm just not fun anymore compared to what I used to be, right? They wanted that me. So if I would say yes and have some drinks anyways, I mean, you can already feel how that goes, because I'm sure you've maybe been there, and I'm there and I'm drinking and I don't really want to. And then I go home and it's like, oh, I feel awful. And then I don't sleep well. And then tomorrow I feel awful. And the whole thing is one big leak, because I said yes when I should have just said, I have plans. I'd love to catch up soon. Bye. So sometimes when it's the one asking, as you align and affirm what you are available for, the universe will have them stop asking. We need to try to trust in that and know that that will come, the way that when we switch our mindset, the universe brings us beautiful new things, mentors, friends, money, opportunity. We've seen that. It's the same in the other way. As we decide what we don't want and what we're not available for, it'll stop coming into our experience so much. But in the meantime, it's the perfect place to practice boundaries. So this is, I know, right? So annoying. But that's where I default into like, I wish I could, but I can't, taxes, the kids. And they're like, oh, it sounds legit. So that's the first place to start, being aware of what drains you and setting the intention in your life. And this is something I've done. I change my intention when I feel I need to, but I will create an intention for my life. So right now there could be, I set the intention to be loving, kind, and forgiving, but I'm also not going to leak my energy. I'm going to take on the energy. I am not going to take on the energy of others and allow my boundaries to slip. So an intention for life. I'm going to intend to be giving and loving and of service, but I'm also not going to let my boundaries slip, or I intend to keep my sacred boundaries close and to practice them. And I'm going to get to that in a second, that boundaries are actually just about practicing the boundaries, not that like I set a boundary, done. It's not a, slow cooker. It's something we need to continuously come back and keep marinating. I'm probably just hungry. Okay. So the second part of witnessing what's leaking your power, or the second step here, is then connecting to, I like to say, connecting to the protector. And what I mean by this is for me, what really resonates is I know that we all have guides and angels, whether you know your guides or not, know names or not, it is irrelevant. We have guides and angels just like we have a source. Most of the people that have made your way to this training believe in some sort of your own unique relationship with universe, spirit, source, guides, angels, highest self, whatever that is for you. Connecting with that as your protector. So we have guides and angels specifically on the other side helping you in life. And one of their jobs is to help you not get depleted and worn out, because when you're depleted, you forget your magic. When you're depleted, you're not as creative. You're not losing yourself in fun projects and serving the world how you could be. So one of their main jobs is to help you to stay in this place of source, of remembering who the F you are, having confidence, being in love, being around supportive people, and also just thriving, right? Basically thriving. So in your mind's eye, you can create an energetic gatekeeper. And this is something I did. And the second we say that, you might already see something in your mind's eye or feel into it. I had a client that her gatekeeper was like this giant eagle, and it would be like source. And it was this animal. It might be a person. It might be a spirit guide. It might be a ball of light that is your energetic gatekeeper. And this will be something that you can call on to protect you, whatever's going on there. You guys are super cute. And you can call on it in a time of need. So whatever pops into your mind right away, an animal, a person, go with it right now. Create that energetic gatekeeper in your mind and then allow it to change if later it changes. I also had a client that it was their grandpa. And I had someone that I knew it was their sister that had passed away that is there to now protect her. That was her gatekeeper. So animal, entity, shape, orb, alien, ball of light, whatever it is to you, try to create that gatekeeper, and they know you and they love you. And they also know where you tend to leak your power and how loving and compassionate and giving you are, and how you also tend to give too much and deplete your cup. They know all of it. You don't have to explain it. There's no awkward small talk. They know you. They've got you. So calling on that gatekeeper in your mind's eye when it's going down. And I've honestly had situations where someone called me, like back when people called before texting, and they'd call me and like do you want to hang out? Right. And it's Sandra or whatever. And I'm like, oh, hang on a second. And it's like, gatekeeper, I need your help. I really want to go. I'm going to deplete myself. Like, and that source comes in, that energy comes in, that renewed wave of what you said you were committing to in your life, what you said you were available for, reminding you of your boundaries. And you can always take a second and say, hang on, the kettle just fell. Can I call you back? That was random. Hang on a second. I just realized the soup's on the boil. Can I call you right back? Take a second. Connect to your power, connect to your gatekeeper. You don't have to say yes right now. You don't have to respond in 2 seconds. And most people do text or send a message. So take a second, call on that protector, call on a loved one that would do that for you. You can even have a protector that's alive still in your mind's eye. Maybe there's someone, maybe it's your husband, your wife, your friend that just has your back and would like fight for you. There's definitely times when I call on the strength of my husband when he's not around me to be like, because he would protect me no matter what. What would he do? What would he recommend I do? Call on his strength to help me. So it can really be, it's the quantum. You can pick whatever you want to be your gatekeeper. It could be a big pineapple if that gives you strength, like whatever you see, but create that in your mind, what's coming up right now. And then as you are also entering situations that could be draining, and it could be anything from like a meeting at the bank to a social gathering to, whatever it is, it could be happy. Like I know if I'm being celebrated, like a baby shower or even in my wedding, it still drains me being around all these people and staring. And even if it's joyful. So I call on my protector and I'll say, thank you for protecting me and keeping my boundaries strong. Or I like to say, keeping my boundaries tight. It just resonates with me. Help me. Thank you for helping me to keep my boundaries strong tonight as I go through this situation. Call on that protector. Use that. It's a huge, huge tool for boundaries. So the next step here is simply practicing, assessing, and doing it again. That's kind of like manifestation. I think we all think we have to be perfect. We all think if we don't get it right the first time, we're screwed. We all think like, oh, I set a boundary and I didn't do it and I'm hopeless and I'm lost and I'm broken. No, we just need to practice, assess what happened, right? Because there's many times I'm like, okay, boundaries. And then I have to spend, not so much these days, but a weekend with my mom or an entire day. And I start to get thrown off and I have to go. She probably wonders why I go to the washroom so many times. Like, just like I have bladder issues. I'm like, no, I just need to call on my protector every 5 minutes, but assessing it and trying again. Like, okay, I got thrown for a loop. What was it? It was because when she started talking about this, I really started like hearing in between the lines, whatever it was. Okay. So now next time, maybe less time with her. And I do this all the time now. My husband, again, gorgeous soul, he'll get in the middle of us in a good way where he'll say like, the kids are going to go there. How about I'll drop them off so you don't even have to go? And I'm like, oh, thanks. That's awesome. Right. Or the phone call. I hate to pick on her, but it's just one of the areas of my life where I've really had to do this work. She called the other day to talk to my kids and they had like a Zoom call. And I came down about like 3/4 of the way through the call. And so I was just there at the end to be like, oh, hey, oh, that's nice. It was a gift for my daughter. She was opening. I was like, oh, that's beautiful. Like, how are you guys? Awesome. Okay. Well, it's 8:30. The kids got to go to bed. And like, that was my way of managing it. So I didn't have to be in the whole call. And she didn't know what I was doing. She didn't even ask, but I'd be like, oh, I was pooping. I don't know, whatever. I was doing anything else. The kettle fell. I don't know. Doesn't even matter. It's about me protecting my boundaries because I know I can't do an hour call with her, or I will let those boundaries slip. I will let her stuff get into me. So it's practicing, assessing, and then just doing it again and giving yourself grace, giving yourself compassion and patience, and default into, I'm a really loving person and I want to care for people. It's easy for me to overgive. It's easy for me to extend myself, but I'm learning boundaries. I'm learning to protect my energy because I want to feel good. I want to be more powerful. My highest self knows that these power leaks are draining me. So just having that grace for yourself, even if you get way thrown off, even when you hear that inner voice saying, say no, and you're like, sure, I will. Crap, why did I say that? Just assess it. Look at what happened. I said no in the moment because I felt bad. Okay. Note for next time. Next time, take a pause before answering. Just like they say, don't respond in text when you're all mad, sleep on it. So many times that's really beneficial. So sometimes we need to just pause before saying yes. Sure, I'll help you for an entire weekend. Crap, why did I say that? Take a second, right? And then this is the fourth step here, which is practice saying no. And then I put in the workbook, no is a full sentence. No is a full sentence. You don't have to tell why, and I'm sorry, and maybe next week, and let's reschedule. And then sometimes we end up overcompensating and almost giving more later because, oh no, I can't come out today, but maybe next weekend, me and David will come for the whole weekend. You get off going, why did I do that? Why did I say that? So practice saying no. Remembering no is a full sentence, remembering you can say no at any time and you don't have to give 100 reasons why. No is valid enough. And again, if somebody asks you, because some people will be like, why not? I have plans. I have plans with the kids. I have plans with my husband. We're going to have a date day. Just make something up on the spot, even beforehand. Think of a few things you can say when people ask you. I'm not someone that advertises to go around and lie to people. But sometimes saying like, I can't because I have boundaries and you're going to leak my power because you're negative. Sometimes that won't actually be in the best, or it's not available for us to say like, how do I say this? You draining. I don't want to be around you. I mean, if you do, like, I seriously admire you because I don't have the balls to say that, but it's okay sometimes to just say no. I have a feeling like, yeah, then maybe they won't contact you again. Totally. I love that. So instead of thinking you need to have a valid reason to say no, because I think that's one thing we're very on it, like we're usually honest, authentic. We feel bad. We don't want to lie. I didn't have plans though. Like maybe I should have just gone there. There's a time and a place to protect your ass, to protect your energy. It's okay to say, no, I have plans. Right. So I also will say something like, oh, that sounds great. Unfortunately, it just doesn't work for me on that day. Or if it doesn't sound great, I won't lie. But I'm just saying, like, oh, yeah, a bunch of us are getting together. And you're like, I know, even they might even be good people. I just know I don't have anything in me to give. I know it's going to deplete me. Oh, that sounds great. I'll take a rain check. Right. Like there's a million things you can say, or just, no, thank you. I'm good. Or no, I'm busy. We get uncomfortable with that because we want to justify, but you're allowed to do what you want. And in fact, creating these boundaries will make you stronger as a person. So these are some questions to ask yourself. In what instances do I avoid saying no? And why do I do that? It's like such a simple question, but why do I do that? And then again, this is in the workbook, but I would definitely, this is such a powerful question to write down. So in what instances do I avoid saying no? Why do I do that? And how does doing that affect me? And if it's not about saying no for you, it could just be like when I let my boundary slip, when I get depleted. How does that behavior affect me? How does that behavior affect the other people in your life? And how would it have helped me to say no? So just kind of looking at it, right? We think that if we say yes, everyone's going to be happy and we just want to make people happy. And a lot of us are people pleasers. But really, when you show up and you say yes and you meant to say no, you're not in your highest space. You're not open and available and a conduit of source, touching and giving people light everywhere you go. You're depleted. So whether it's that evening or the next day or the next day, you have an emotional, energetic hangover, you're depleted, you're less patient, maybe with your children or your spouse, You're tired. You probably start comfort eating or having a beer because you feel tired and you just need to get out of your skin. You wake up grumpy. You're not sleeping as well. Like you could go on and on. How does this affect your life? How does this affect the people around you? I'm getting like massive goosebumps because this is so important for you guys, for me. So really seeing how boundaries slipping isn't just like, oh yeah, I'm bad at that. It's like, this makes up your life in the ways that you don't want it to. And it's the same for me. So it's not, it's not picking on you. It's the same for me. So if you know that a situation is going to threaten your boundaries, do yourself a solid and start practicing saying no. I've even had clients before in the mirror when that's like their biggest thing. It's like stand in the mirror and be like, no, thank you. I'm busy. No, sorry, I have plans. Like literally practicing like you're going to go on stage so that when that moment comes, I've practiced this. I've trained for this. No, I did it. Like it sounds so simple if someone didn't struggle with that, but it is hard. And it's something that alters our life and the way we act around other people and our patience and our tolerance and what we have left to give to the people that love us so much, to our spouses, to our kids. We don't have anything left at the end of the day because we haven't protected what is important to us. So those were the like keeping your boundaries strong. So first is being aware of what leaks your energy. The second is connecting to your protector. The third is just practicing it, assessing. Did that go well? Did it not go well? What felt good? Maybe next time I do want to give a reason because I just said no. And then it felt like there was 72 minutes of awkward silence. So maybe I do want to give a reason. So next time I'm going to just say I have plans and then just practice again, have that grace. And then the fourth was saying no and that it's a full sentence. So the next part here is about this exactly about the assessing is that boundaries take practice. So creating solid boundaries is about practicing. It's about witnessing your own energy, calling on that protection, and then taking new actions. That is what life is. That's manifestation. That's loving yourself. That's all of it. Making more money, being abundant, having a successful business. It's about doing something, witnessing how it feels and how it panned out. And then in this case, calling on protection or calling on more guidance, and then taking a new action and doing that over and over. So it's not enough, especially for us sensitive people, it's not enough to just simply state our boundaries and then just like walk away. That's not how it works. We have to become aware, as you guys are, but you have to become aware of how you're feeling when those feelings kind of shift, what it feels like to not have any boundaries, to not stick to the new things you've identified that you want, and then practice putting them into place and kind of doing that over and over. So healthy boundaries is your goal, but you know that you'll need to practice, especially when it's new. It's like going to the gym. My goal might be to like run 10K or miles in this much time, but it's about practicing getting there. Nobody goes like, okay, I've set my intention, 6-pack abs. You got to practice and then go, okay, what is helping me with my endurance? When do I notice that like my training is really working? And when am I running more? And is it morning? Is it afternoon? Is it before I've eaten, or is it fasting? Like we have to find what works for us, no matter what it is. And boundaries aren't any different. It's literally, it's about practicing. And a lot of us feel like we just should have boundaries and then we'll all be good, but we don't have boundaries, so we're not good. And there's no like in between. It's like spend some time getting to know your boundaries. It's not that when you're there, you'll be great and right now you're hopeless. It's like the process of establishing, your boundaries and practicing them. So this kind of blends into, I always say bleeds into, and then every time I say it, I go, so I'm practicing saying blends. This blends into being okay anyway when you completely override your own boundaries and you end up depleted and you end up anxious or crying or whatever because you've completely let them slip. This is where we practice being okay anyway. So being like a whole other aspect of setting boundaries is acknowledging that there are times where you will be triggered, you will feel victimized or drained, and you can decide to be okay anyway or stay in that sludgy energy. So even though I let my boundaries slip, I'm okay anyway. Even though I went out tonight and now I feel totally drained, I love and accept myself anyway. I will be okay. I'm learning. It's basically like practicing, but it's giving yourself that fucking love while you're doing it. And I've practiced this, say intuitive eating. I'll be like, I ate more cake than what was comfortable or whatever, but I love and accept myself anyway. I completely let my boundaries slip, and that client session went way too long, but I'm okay anyway. I'm learning. Because after this, it's so common. Say tomorrow you let a boundary slip, then like, we just talked about that. I just watched that class with Talia, and I'm letting it slip. And that energy takes you off course. It's like thinking you don't have intuition. You didn't listen to your intuition. I never listen to my intuition. I'm not intuitive. It's like, well, not with that attitude. You're not. So being okay anyway, allowing yourself that grace of like, I totally said yes when I should have said no, but I'm just going to love myself through this. So I've really started this practice a couple of years ago of being like, I can be around toxic people and be okay anyway. So I want boundaries where I don't have to be around those people, but sometimes it happens. I can't protect myself from everyone. Or sometimes I say yes when I should have said no, or sometimes I just have no choice. I'm all of a sudden in the room with a toxic person, and I am going to choose to be okay anyway. In the end, I will be okay anyway. I know I can be okay anyway. So I like to practice and remind myself that I can be around my mom or my ex or a negative coworker or whatever. I mean, that'd be weird because like there's nobody else in my office, but when I had coworkers, and be okay anyway. Yes, I'm an empath. Yes, I'm a highly sensitive person, but I don't want to walk around believing that every negative person is going to suck my soul. So I know I'm talking about power leaks, and this is all very true, but there's also higher dimensions of what if you could be around these people and be okay anyway sometimes, because we will all be in that situation. You meet your kid's teacher and they just send you off, or someone brings a guest over, whatever. Can I bring a friend? Sure. And they're like the most negative Nancy for the whole evening. It just will happen. You can't protect yourself completely, but you can choose to be okay anyway and know that your power runs deeper than this one moment of negativity and negative energy. So I like to notice that. And when it feels like I have no choice but to be around someone who's negative or overwhelming or just draining, I will say to myself, and this may really resonate, I'm going to let their shit pass through me and not stick to me. That is my intention here. I'm going to let their stuff flow through me and not stick to me. So it's just kind of like another level of boundary, even when you can't block someone out or protect yourself from never encountering anyone negative. I'm going to let their stuff pass through me and not get stuck in me. That was a huge shift with my mom. As soon as I even said that, allow her stuff to pass through me, I acknowledged it's her stuff and I can choose to take it on or not. And it's a practice. It's a fucking practice. And it's definitely doable. I will let their stuff pass through me. And sometimes, you're in line or you have an appointment and the person you just all of a sudden had to spend 20 minutes with at the bank or whatever was so weird and negative, and you leave going like, whoa, I'm going to allow that to just pass right through me and not get stuck to me. And sometimes I get the visual of like those fly trap things that are like those sticky pieces of paper that hang from the roof. And that's what it feels like sometimes, is everyone that comes to me, I'm just taking their stuck stuff. And then I leave with all this stuff stuck to me. Nuh-uh, that's a boundary. I'm not going to let their stuff stick to me. I'm going to let it pass through me. So that's another tool, is choosing to be okay anyway, or intending to be okay anyway. So just a nice mantra here that I like to say is, my goal is to have healthy boundaries or loving, sacred boundaries, and I'm willing to practice it. My goal or my intention is to have sacred boundaries or healthy boundaries, and I'm willing to practice reminding yourself of that. You're not all or nothing. You don't have amazing boundaries and you get a gold star, or you have crappy boundaries and it's the reason why you can't be successful or you can't be happy. Those don't exist. It's all or nothing thinking. You're a beautiful blend in any given day in the middle. You're just going to practice them because you know that this is going to help you. So you're just willing to practice, just like anything else, the gym, a new language, self-development, praying, intuition. We just practice. And that's all we need to do with boundaries. So we're getting towards the end here, but I want to talk about releasing negative energy. This is the last sort of aspect here. And then I just have some beautiful affirmations that you can write down if any of them resonate. But first, releasing negative energy. So when you've been triggered, you can always restore your joy after and move forward. And this is something that, like, sometimes it's like we've never almost been given that permission to, like, we can actually restore the joy. We don't have to be sent off. We don't have to be thrown off for the rest of the day or the week or the year. So just remembering that after our boundaries slip, after we become drained, we can restore our joy and move forward. So I really recommend creating an intentional space or a prayer or something that you can do that will release the negative energy and restore the joy. And so I like to use physical movement because I do find like the fly trap stuff feels like it sticks to me and creates heaviness. So I like to actually like shake it out. In the program Empowered Empath, we talk a lot about like ways to protect your energy and release your energy. And that's one that I find people love over and over, is like physically shaking it out. And of course, there's no right way to do this. I'd be like, if your negative energy wanted to shake out of you, what would it do? And some days, like, I'm bouncing, I even love like a classic Jay-Z, Dirt Off Your Shoulders. Like, I love that stuff. Just get it off. Before we realize this, the alternative is we just walk around in it. And it's like, oh, what's wrong? Oh, I was with my mom 5 hours ago and she said all this stuff. Oh, I was with my mom yesterday. Oh, last weekend I was around. It's like, how long are you going to carry this, right? How long do you want to carry this? So I recommend really intentionally creating an intention, but a little thing you can do to release that energy. And some examples, I use physical movement. Sometimes I use like happy or powerful songs that I like. Music really moves me. So like something that I have no choice but to be empowered after. One song I really love is from The Greatest Showman, This Is Me, just because it's like so powerful. And she's all like, when everything wants to break me down, and like, this is me, and like, I'm not hiding anymore. And like, there's something really empowering. Or some sort of just like boppy fun song or whatever. You could also, of course, meditate. I find physical energy moving sometimes is much more efficient, physically moving it. Sometimes I find when I meditate, I'm not alchemizing. I'm not switching it up. It's actually like it has more chance to float into my mind because I'm giving myself the space to be thinking about it, if that makes sense. I've had clients before say like, I'm scared to meditate because I'm kind of scared what's going to come up in my mind. So that's something real. You don't have to meditate if it feels like that's going to fuel it. Movement's great. I will literally like sprint. Like, it's not about fitness, but it's like, I have to move this energy. I'll like sprint down the driveway or to the next telephone pole. It's literally just to like get stuff rolling. Even if it's for 10 seconds. Another one, of course, is sage. Sage or Palo Santo are beautiful to me. The smell just activates something in me because I've used it for so long. Of course, it's just a natural medicine, a natural healer. So those two things, bringing in scents, bringing in smells, shifting it up, having a shower, having the intention as you shower, You are going to release, like you have done this many times, I'm sure. Let the energy run off you down the drain, all of their shit, watch it go, right? And sometimes I'll even, it's getting really personal, shower talk. I'll like soap. And then as it's rinsing off of me, it's like the bubbles are negative pockets of energy. And I will watch it like go down my arm, go down my leg, and down the drain. And there's something like therapeutic about water, obviously, but letting it run and run and run until like there's no more bubbles and all the like soap, all of the energy is gone. And now I'm like free. And sometimes I'll like soap again, but now I'm just soaping because it's self-love. And now I'm in the shower. It's like I had to do it to clear the energy. That's another beautiful thing that I do. And so there's shower clearing. I'm just offering 2 clearings here. Shower clearing, which is envisioning that negative energy being washed off of you. I think it was in the Awakening Academy. A tool I shared was about the bath. And I know a lot of the people just went and did it, and it was like so amazing. But it was being in a bath. You can bring in crystals or smells or whatever, sitting in the bath and really going to the place of what you're feeling, like the ickiness or the tension or the anxiety, feeling into it, also with the energy of knowing you're alchemizing, knowing you're releasing, bringing it up, feeling it in your body, and then asking yourself, like, do I want to be available to this? AKA, am I ready to let this go? And then pulling the plug and knowing that as you drain that water, it takes a little bit of time, but it keeps consistently draining and draining and draining. And the last bit of water, it's like, and like when the water goes, the thing is gone. The energy is dissipated. It is so powerful because water has the ability. It's like water's like clear quartz. The way that I see it is that it amplifies everything. It's the open vessel. You can create whatever you want. So if you give yourself an abundance bath, it's going to magnify the abundance. If you whatever you want, water is again like clear quartz. It'll take the shape of what you give it, the intention you give it. It's an open vessel. So when you intend for it to all go away with the bath water, it is so beautiful what happens. Then after that, I'll often either fill it up again or have a nice shower and then kind of be done with it. It went with the drain. And I'll use that for stressors in my day or my week or just overall. And then the second one for releasing negative energy so that you can sort of like restore that joy and come back to that place is cloud clearing. So what I'll do is I take a huge deep breath and I imagine a dark cloud of energy being exhaled out of me. And like, for me, it is so powerful where when I'm feeling all bunchy, but I also then, admit or declare that I want to release it, because that takes some time too. When you get to the point you want to release it, I'll breathe in this feeling and in my mind's eye, it's dark and it's almost like thick. And I'll do another one. And then it's like a little bit less dark. And the cloud, it kind of almost now looks like a rain cloud where it's like gray. And then another one. And then those clouds get lighter and lighter. And pretty soon by the end in my mind, it almost looks like light, like white, beautiful. It like turns from almost like a smoke to a light. And that's just in my mind. Your journey might be different. Literally clearing it in like bouts of breath, but seeing it visually being cleared like a cloud. I really, really love that one. And there's also a Gabby Bernstein quote or a mantra that she uses about boundaries that I put in the workbook that says, I ask that any negative energy I picked up be removed, recycled, and transmuted. I ask that any positive energy I may have lost to be retrieved now. So I ask any negative energy to be removed, recycled, transmuted, and any positive energy that I have lost to be retrieved and brought back to me now. I will call that in the light. I will say any light I've lost, I call back my power. I call back my light. I call back my boundaries. I call back my joy now. Why should she take my energy? Why should he be in charge of my depletion level? That's me. I call back my power. I call back my joy. I call back my light now. And this is boundaries, because this is caring about how you feel so deeply that you're willing to protect and restore it, because it makes up your life. So just the last here are just some affirmations that you'll get in the workbook, and you can also write down, that are really beautiful for boundaries. So the first one is, I only allow love and light to stick to me. Some of my affirmations are not always the daintiest, but it's what resonates with me. I only allow love and light to stick to me. Acknowledging that sometimes I let darkness stick to me, but right now I only allow love and light. The next one is, I am worthy of setting and maintaining boundaries. And that's going to really hit some people. I am worthy of setting and maintaining boundaries. Yes, 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 yes. Boundaries are self-love. Boundaries are loving myself. It's safe for me to have boundaries. I honor myself by honoring my boundaries. I honor myself by honoring my boundaries. When I honor my boundaries, I create space for my desires. When I honor my boundaries, I create space for my desires. I give myself permission to set boundaries that support myself and my soul. I give myself permission to set boundaries that support myself and my soul. Yes. Boundaries are for the self. It's not because other people are bad or wrong. Boundaries are for you, to honor how you want to feel, to honor who you truly are, and to know that you're worthy of that. You're worthy of feeling good. You're worthy of saying no, of protecting your space. Boundaries are self-love. I hope that this has served you today. And I hope to see you becoming more and more clear on what you will allow into your space. And it's not through judging others. It's about caring so deeply about how you feel that you're willing to protect it, just like you would for your kids, just like you would for maybe your home or your property. If someone was defacing your property or being rude to your kids or being weird, you would get in front of that bus. When it comes to ourselves, it's a little bit harder because we want to give. We don't know where that line is. But if it's draining you, if it's hurting you, it's safe to put up a boundary. It's safe to not accept that into your life. Thank you so much for spending this time with me, and I can't wait to see you next time.